Assalamu alaikum, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Out of Sight, a show where we raise awareness of issues regarding special needs and disabilities within our community. I'm your host for today. My name is Zahra Faisal Al-Alawi, and with me is Shahida Kaku. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming.
You're welcome. Thank you for inviting me.
So, just a brief introduction. Shahida Kaku is 50 years old and diagnosed with Winchester syndrome. So shall we start off by talking a bit about what Winchester syndrome is?
Okay, so Winchester syndrome is a mixture of mucopolysaccharidosis. It was just given a name because I didn't really fit into any of the illnesses that were out there that I'm similar to. So I was given a special name. So it basically affects the bones, growth, some facial swelling. There's a lot of osteoporosis involved, and I'm easy to break if I have falls.
Okay. So was this something that was apparent from birth, or did it develop later on?
No, Mum said, it was a normal birth, everything was fine, but
Yeah.
I just didn't grow like the other kids, and I couldn't digest milk.
Okay.
So I was tried on different milk, and finally I settled on soya milk. Digestive system was quite weird, and they couldn't figure out what was going on. So growing up, developing, I was tinier than most babies,
Yeah.
and my movement wasn't that great. So I can't remember whether I could walk, but I remember being able to ride a tricycle.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe I could walk or crawl, but not as well as normal childhood.
Okay. So what was it like growing up in general with this condition?
It was very different,
Yeah.
obviously. So, because I didn't fit into anything,
Yeah.
nobody knew what was wrong with me. So they knew there was something wrong with me because my fingers started curling.
Okay.
And, I wasn't walking as well as normal babies.
Yeah.
But all the doctors, we grew up in Kenya. Sorry, I should have
Okay.
said earlier.
Yeah.
So we grew up in Kenya. So, all the doctors over there, they couldn't figure out, I didn't really fit into anything. Some said polio, some said something else, but it wasn't the right diagnosis. So just doing the rounds of doctors and that, trying to figure out what.
So growing up, you didn't know what was
No,
wrong with you?
didn't know. I knew something was wrong because obviously I didn't have the same development as everyone else.
Yeah.
But I didn't fit into anything. So it was taken to Malims and, trying to figure out whether what was going on and taking to different doctors, just trying to figure it out. Then in the end, my auntie, she found out there was a professor coming from London. So I met Professor Stroud, and he was from King's College Hospital. And then he finally said, I think she's got a rare disease, and you'd need to come to London so that we can get her diagnosed.
Yeah.
But there's something, don't worry, she's got an illness, so it really helped my mum to deal with it.
Of course, yeah.
Finally get some sort of diagnosis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure, like growing up, you struggled with many things, and not just physically but psychologically as well.
Yeah, it was very uncomfortable going to mosque because obviously the ladies would ask my mum what's wrong with her, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And have you taken her to this doctor, that doctor? Have you taken her to this malim, that malim? And so it was quite hard on my mum as well because she couldn't accept me as I was, which made me not accept me, you know. So I was always fighting with myself, kind of thing. So I wasn't very happy growing up as a child.
Yeah.
Because I always thought there's something wrong. Why me, and why is it happening to me? And are they right? Maybe I am. They put all sorts of weird ideas into your head.
Yeah.
So it was really difficult growing up, but. Yeah, once I got the diagnosis from Professor Stroud, I felt much better because I knew that it wasn't anything psychological or all the other stuff that, you hear.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was really, that was one of the happiest days. Just
Yeah.
finally knowing, that it's not me, it's something that I have, and then going forward with it.
Yeah.
And
So we'll go a bit more about, how it impacts your mental health and also parents raising you, right? Because that's such an important element that many people don't think about. But just before we go on to that, what was it like, you mentioned mosques and, trying to heal you. What are like the cultural perceptions of disability that you feel like that you came across? And perhaps interaction of religion with that? Because sometimes they do get confused with each other, right?
They do get very confused. But I was very lucky because I had a grandma who was, very big fan of the Ahlulbayt. So I was so lucky, because I hated, I didn't have a very good relationship with God and religion because I was kept told, there's something wrong with me, and it was to do with religion, cursed and all this rubbish that they put in your head.
Yeah.
So all the different malims as well, so I grew up why me?
Yeah.
Hate God.
Yeah.
Why is he that?
And this is not uncommon because, even in the when you look at research done in the UK, at families from minority ethnic groups, you see a lot of this kind of themes coming up about how the concept of, culture or religion impacts people's perception of disability and how it can affect that individual and their family. So this is something that is, it's common and...
it is very common.
Yeah.
We need to separate illness from religion because obviously that messes you up as a child. But like I said, I was very lucky with my grandma. She made me understand a little bit, and she made me realize, they are loving, and it's got nothing to do with religion, and this is just how you were born.
Yeah.
And I after that, because of how she brought me up, I didn't mind going to mosque and learning about. And I grew up with a very very strong belief in them, like asking for wasila through them. And every time I asked, it was like, wow, something's gone off. And so, like, I'll give you an example. Like, I asked, after I'd been here and got diagnosed and got calipers, so we went back home to Kenya. And, I was quite down because, I had a frame, so I could walk, but I had a frame. So, I was quite down for some reason, whatever reason it was. And so, I just thought, right, I'll do what Ma said. And I asked, it was Imam Hussein's birthday. So I said, I know I'm not supposed to ask, it's your birthday. I'm supposed to give you something, but, if you don't mind, would you mind? And it was amazing. I started walking unaided without, I got that belief in myself. And, obviously he's prayed for me. And I got that belief, and I thought, I can do this. So I walked without my frame. I was running around. It was amazing. So I thought,
how old was you?
This is good. Next day, it's I think it was it's Abbas's birthday. So I thought, I want something here. So I asked if I could do stairs. So it was so weird. And because I was lighter then, so I managed to pull myself up using the banister, so I could do stairs. I was slow, but I managed to do stairs, and I was like, "Ooh, this is good." So then it was Imam Zainal Abidin's birthday, so I, pushed my luck, and I said, can I get down the stairs? Because I got up the stairs, but I couldn't work out how to get down them again, because you can't hold on to the banister, and you're gonna tip off, obviously. So I managed to get down the stairs on my bum, so I could manage stairs. But from that day I got confidence that I can do stuff. I might do it differently, and I just have to ask for Allah's help via the wasila of the imams, and I was away. So it made me very strong. Had faith then. My faith came back, and I started praying my namaz properly. And so, I started.
How old was you when this happened?
I think I was about 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when was the actual turning point for you?
The actual turning point, I mean, I had calipers. We
Yeah.
came here.
So can you just explain what calipers is?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you a little bit going backwards. So we used to live in Kenya,
Yeah.
and we used to come. We used to live Kenya,
Yeah.
and my dad's business partner and good friend, he had opened the company
Okay.
here.
Okay.
So he told my dad, why don't you take
Yeah.
Shida over there?
Yeah.
And because Professor Stroud has said as well.
Yeah.
So we came over here and to see if I could get properly diagnosed and everything. And we came over here and we were staying at my auntie's house, and it was really bizarre how God works in mysterious ways. So anyway, my mom was taking me up the stairs. They had stairs into the bedrooms upstairs, and she dropped me and I fell down and broke my leg. And obviously she was very upset and I was in pain. But apparently it was the best thing that happened to us because I got into King's College and I got diagnosed, and then everything medical-wise was free for me because it happened in this country.
Yeah.
And so they diagnosed me and they put, my legs were very bent because I was riding a tricycle to get around because I couldn't walk at the time. And they'd made my legs worse, but we didn't realize. So we just needed movement, and that I couldn't be carried all the time.
Yeah.
So so they straightened my legs and they put like rod. It's a rod attached to shoes, and it takes your weight, so you are able to walk.
Okay.
Because my bones are very weak, so I can't actually support my weight.
Okay.
So I wore those, and I could walk, like I said, with the frame, and then carrying on. So that's how I started to learn to walk. And I was more independent because I had to rely on my mum carrying me everywhere before, and this little tricycle. So that's the medical side of it. They couldn't actually, there's no cure for Winchester syndrome as yet. There's ongoing research, but there was people that I didn't even know about, like all over the world, Iran, somewhere in India, somewhere in Indonesia, or somewhere far-flung places.
Have you ever met someone with Winchester?
No. It was so weird because, I think it was about 5 years ago, I finally found someone from King's College, and it was this guy, and he had exactly the same condition, and he was in Birmingham, and I was so happy, that there's someone I could exchange notes with, kind of thing. And then I found out, unfortunately, he passed away. I was so sad. He passed away a year before I found out about him. I thought, oh my God, I was living in Birmingham this whole time, We could have swapped notes, and it would have been nice to
meet someone who has commonality with you in that sense.
So that was that. But it was nice to see his life on Facebook, and he had similar hands, he had similar problems, so it was nice, but it was sad.
So I see now that you're very positive, but you said in your childhood it wasn't like that. So when did that shift happen? Did it occur gradually, or was there something that happened that...
We went for a holiday to Dar es Salaam. My mum's sister lived there, and I was walking, but I couldn't do a lot of stairs. So I had these calipers, but I was still miserable. So I just felt like, everyone else is doing stuff, and I was quite confined because there was 6 flights of stairs. So mum and whoever, sister or whoever, I can't remember at the time, they would go off shopping, and I'd be stuck in this flat. It was a lovely flat and everything, but I just felt like I wasn't doing anything, kind of thing, and I wanted to be involved. And so I was being a misery guts, and my cousin, she worked at a hospital. So she took me, she said, come on, we're going for a ride. And I was so excited. I was like, finally, get out there. So, she took me to this hospital, and, it's for orphans. And it was, I think it was like a home for orphans. And I was walking around. She went up to her office, and she said, have a look around, do what you like, just don't fall off. And I'm like, I'll try. And so I was walking around and I saw this little boy. He was sitting on the floor and he was doing his, they were similar to my calipers, but his was so worn out and so, like they'd made them with whatever they could find kind of thing. And he was just sitting there and doing his calipers up. And I said, can I help you? And he just smiled. I don't know whether he understood, whether it was the language but he just smiled. And he was, so I was just sat there and I was smiling and, just taking in what he was doing. And I just thought, wow, he's so happy. He's got like no home. He's got no family. He's got no car. He's got, limited education.
Yeah.
And he's so happy. He's just getting on with life. And look at me, I'm such a, I should, that was kind of, it made my mindset to be more positive. And like, I went back to my cousins and I said to her, oh, who's that boy? Can we help him in any way? I can give him my old calipers or something. And she's like, what boy? And I went like, the boy that was there. And till this day, she said she doesn't know that boy. So I don't know.
That's interesting.
I don't know whether it was an angel sent to open my eyes or, but it was so bizarre. She still doesn't know who that boy was.
Wow.
So it was so weird, but it really opened my eyes up, and I started doing better at school. So Mum realized, I wasn't, I didn't have the mental, because sometimes my illness affects the brain.
Okay.
So Mum, Mum, because I started to do well at school, Mum could see,
Cognitively, you wasn't affected.
So I started improving in all the areas of my life.
But you mentioned an interesting point about how your mindset changes your reality, right? We almost create our own reality through our minds, right? You can be living in such difficult circumstances, but if you view it positively, then your life will be beautiful.
I felt so blessed, I started reciting my namazes and I started communicating with Allah, because before I was like, it was always blame, why me? What about it? Kind of thing. And but once I started communicating with him, the little problems that I had, I would ask and I would, Ma taught us, always ask with his wasila, with the Imam Hussein's wasila, or all the Imams, and I just started just talking and then I, now I've got so used to every little problem I have, probably gets tired of listening to me. And I'm thinking, there's so many other bigger problems. But it's so nice to be able to, sometimes you feel like you're in your own mind, you're so confused or there's no way out, you feel. But if you start communicating with your imams and, putting the problem to him, then, I find there might be a bit delay or there might be a different way of doing it, but there's always somehow, the way it always comes.
That's beautiful. You might not get exactly what you asked for, but God knows best. He will bring things to you.
So like there was recently an example and I was like, my dad recently, he went to Ziyarat to Syria, Sham. It was my mum and dad's wish. My mum passed away about 3 years ago. And it was his wish and her wish to go to Syria to be Zainab. And he hadn't been because of COVID.
Okay.
Yeah, because of COVID and all the bombings and everything going on that side of the world. He hadn't been. So he finally got the opportunity. So I said, you've got to do it. Finally everything's fine. Just go. And it's like, oh, I'll leave you behind, fathers and daughters and all that. I was like, got the sister, got the brother around the corner, I'll be fine. I'll even get extra carer to come in the evenings so that you don't worry. So it's like, finally went off. And it was so funny because I had to pick up my little niece from school because he does the duty to pick her up on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So he says, who'll go? So I'll go on your days, I'll go. So this Friday, I was all set to go. So Kara came in the morning, got me dressed, blah, blah, blah. Got me all ready. So I says to her, I won't put my shoes on right now because they're quite bulky. So just leave them out. When I'm going, I'll put them on. So everything was set. So I left plenty of time. So I was getting ready to,
Yeah.
I got my coat on, got my scarf on, everything was fine. And boots. Boots. I call them the horrible boots now.
Why, what happened?
So one of them was like, you've got these boots that you zip up,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So one of them, everything's fine. This leg went in. It was left leg went in.
Yeah.
Hunky-dory, no problems at all. Zipped it up. I got that one on. And then this one, the right one, oh my God. It had bent over itself, so it was like flopping.
Yeah.
I couldn't get my foot in. I'm trying. I'm going, oh my God, I'm going to be late. She's going to kill me if I don't pick that child up. And I was like, oh my God, what shall I do?
Yeah.
I would try pushing it against the cupboard to make it stand up straight so I could get my foot in. Was having none of it. I thought, oh my God. So I'm praying, and going, what do I do? Oh my God. So in the end, I was so frustrated. So I said, I'll leave it to him. He'll sort something out. He's created this shoe and he's created my leg. He'll sort something out.
Yeah.
And I thought, I've got to go. So, chucked the shoe on the bed, got the shoe, ran out the house. One shoe on, one shoe off. Luckily, I had my thermal socks on, so I was fine. So I thought, whatever, I'll tell her to put it on or something, I've got to go and get her.
Yeah.
So I was halfway down my street, and it was so funny because there was this couple of old gentlemen that were having a little talk on their driveway, and I thought, ooh. I remember this story that my dad had told me about this man drowning, and he asked God, help me.
Yeah.
And, he missed 3 opportunities of someone that was sent to help him,
Yeah.
but not God directly. And I thought, what, maybe this is an example of this. So I goes to this gentleman, really sorry to bother you. I thought there would be COVID-free, hopefully. They look older, they would have had their jabs, I'll be fine.
Yeah.
So I said, sorry to bother you. And I know this is a really weird request. You can either call me Cinderella or you can call me Guzzi Gander, but I need to get the shoe on. If you don't mind, would you just help me get the shoe on? And they're like, oh my God, yeah, of course, no problem. And got the boot on, and I said, I know it's such a weird request, and I'm so sorry to have bothered you. And they goes, you know what, we were feeling so redundant because we're old age, and we don't, people don't need us anymore. And it's so nice to be able to help someone, and we're so glad that you approached us because not many people, now, because of COVID and everything else going on, people have become very sort of isolated.
Yeah.
And they were so happy to be able to help. So I says to them, when my dad's back, come down for a cup of tea. And they were like, yeah. So anyway, I got the shoe on, ran to get my niece, and I thought, you know what? He does work in mysterious ways. you know? So there's always a way out.
Yeah.
But you just have to think differently.
That's
Very
really
long
nice.
story, sorry.
No, that's a really nice story. And I like your positive approach to things.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be, because if I had sat there, child wouldn't have got picked up for a start. My dad would have gone nuts because he trusted me, and I thought, I wouldn't let him down. But, sometimes we plan things so much, like I got my jacket ready, I got my scarf ready, everything was ready, and I thought it's going to be hunky-dory, I'll get there,
Yeah.
But, you just have to sort of think on your feet kind of things sometimes and just approach things differently. And if it happens, it happens.
Yeah, that's really nice. Thank you for sharing that story.
That's right.
So what advice would you give to someone who's in a similar situation to yours, but finding it difficult to find the positive things in life and to look at things positively? What advice would you give them in helping them change their mindset?
Just look at things differently. It takes a while, and you're not always going to be a happy bunny.
Yeah,
because sometimes things do get you down.
Yes, of
everybody
course.
has problems. It might not be physical. It might be having mental health issues, like feeling depressed, or the weather right now is winter is always blues, isn't it?
Yeah.
So or they might be having issues, family issues. Nobody is perfect. They look perfect, but everybody has something going on in their lives. So, try and help as much as you can. I talk to people on the bus stop, You know, it's like the elderly, and they appreciate it. And you know, you think you're a Muslim, you're not. You know, they have a very warped view. They think you Muslims keep to themselves, and as me, you know, I'll talk to anything. So so they find it really nice that you know that, and we're very similar in a way. You know, everybody loves a cup of tea and a biscuit. So it's like, you know. So I like talking to, you know, like, you know, older generation. They're very lonely at the moment with COVID because a lot of their activities have shut down. So it's nice to be just to put a smile on someone's face, you know. You know, like I said, they don't always show it, but everyone has everything going on.
That's true.
You know, it doesn't have to be physical. So it's nice to be able to give the little bit back. But you're not always going to be chirpy. You're not always going to have a good day. You know, some days my osteoporosis is really bad and don't want to get out of bed and it's too painful or whatever, you know. And I feel really miserable. That day, you know, I have a duvet day and I keep to myself, and, you know, that way I'm not projecting my unhappiness on other people. Sorry. So, but just try and remember tomorrow will be a better day. Yeah. You just have to keep reminding yourself when you're having a bad day.
So remember that life has its ups and downs, and don't have too much high expectations of yourself. And when you are having a bit of a low, you know, mood, relax, take it easy.
I go swimming, so exercise really helps, and open spaces. You know, when it's not so cold, I like being out in the open, visiting parks, and you know, doing stuff.
That really does help.
So you know, in COVID, in a way, it was horrible. But it taught you to be by yourself and to find other activities and, you know, meditate. And, exercise is very important to me for my mental health because, you know, I work out and I get it out my system. You know, you have this aggression in your body sometimes that you just need to punch it out.
Exercise is good for everyone's mental health.
Yes, it does. It really helps.
And another piece of advice you mentioned for improving positivity is to help others, talk to people. And with regards to your story, take things lightly. Find the humor in...
you know, you can't always be serious. So me and my dad, we're all joking about silly things. So I'm very grateful, you know, I have a very good support system in that way. I've got dad, I've got my sister, my brother, he's silly as well. He makes me laugh, you know. I've got my nieces, my nephews, and I've got my extended family, aunts and uncles, and they, you know, they're not always there all the time, but you know they're there if you need them. You know, they'll always support you whenever you need them. You can have a chat, and you know.
That is a common theme that always comes up when I have these conversations. With individuals with disabilities, is that support system is so important.
Yeah, and obviously your first port of call is always Allah because they can't always sort your problems out. So you've got to have that relationship with Allah, so because you know He's the one you complain to. He's the one who will sort. You know, He created you, so He'll sort out whatever mess you've got yourself into, or you know, you feel like it's you know, it's problems, but they have a habit of getting resolved if you don't worry about them so much and you leave them up to Him. I found that very difficult because I thought, well, it's my problem. I need to do something to get it resolved. And now I'm learning as I've grown with age, you know, comes a bit of wisdom, we hope. Not always, but, you know. So I'm learning, you know, to leave things, not constantly worry about things. And He does, you know, it might take Him a while, or it might not be the right time for me. We think we need it sorted now, but
God
obviously
knows
He knows better. So you know, and it's so amazing when I look back at some of the stuff that He's sorted out for me, and I've been on His door, and I think, you know, bless, you know, Allah is so merciful. He never shuts His door. He always says ask, but there's a way of asking as well. You know, sometimes I think to myself, well, I must be doing it wrong because He's not answering. So obviously I have to train myself to ask in the right manner. and to build up that relationship. Sometimes something is not good for you.
Yeah.
So you just have to try and understand. But at the time, sometimes it's a bit difficult. But looking back, he knows better, and he always has done. But we always think we want to control things.
Yep.
So it's just having that insight to try and let go a bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Having that tawakkul and just trusting that God knows best and not trying to control every aspect of
Yes,
everything.
we think it's our life, it's our body, it's our path or whatever, but it's not really.
It all belongs to
we're
God.
not in charge of any of our system, really.
Yeah.
So it's just learning to let go and trusting him, like you said.
Thank you. You mentioned a bit about the things that you like to do, swimming, exercising. What other hobbies do you enjoy doing?
I can sew, I love reading. I learned from a very young age. Reading was an escape to me because I couldn't run around with other kids and I couldn't get involved in, going to parties and, I didn't have that social aspect when I was growing up. So, because I'm easily breakable, so, be careful. Because kids are kids, they'll push and they'll shove and whatever. And so, reading is a great hobby for me. I paint. I learned to paint I think it was about in my 40s. So, that's
So it's never too late to learn, because I don't know how to paint.
I didn't either. Just thought I'll give it a whirl. One of my friends introduced me to painting, and I thought I'll give it a whirl. And it's so relaxing because that's all you think about when you're painting. So I paint, I sew, I swim, I enjoy the movies, shopping when I have the money. When I was working, I did I was quite materialistic back then, but now I've calmed down and, there's so much stuff in the cupboard. So like when it was COVID and when Mum passed away, I had a big clear out. So I realized how much we collect and, we don't need this stuff.
Yeah.
So obviously then I stopped shopping, to be honest, because there was so much stuff. And so I had a big clear out, did each room, me and my dad and my carer. So we did each room and we had a big clear out. So that was soothing in a way because it gave me a purpose, because after Mum passed away, it was always me and Mum.
Yeah.
Since I was young, it was always me and her.
How many years ago did she pass away?
3 years ago.
Okay, so not too long ago,
not too long, But, it's you adjust and, she's in a better place because you wouldn't want her to be in that pain. But it was very difficult because it was always, I felt, that I spent a lot of time with my mum.
Yeah.
From a young age, we were always together because of my disability as well. So I didn't know what to do with myself once she had gone, I was very lost. So at that time, therapy helped me.
Okay.
Yeah. So counseling helped me because I couldn't separate myself from my mum. I found it hard to adjust and because Mum had issues as well with her mental health. So I had a lot of resentment and a lot of anger towards my mum, even though I loved her to bits and that. But because of her illness, I couldn't separate my mum and her illness. So that the counseling really helped me to separate them and to, forgive myself and my mum because she didn't know what she was doing because of her illness, but it had a very profound effect on my childhood. So it was a very therapeutic and very exonerating for me, to be able to do that, to let her go, kind of thing.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up that topic of mental health. Because that is something that a lot of parents that have children with disabilities are affected by. And people don't like to talk about it, but it is a very real issue. So I think it is really important to raise these issues in discussions like this and, to keep it real. This is real life and this is what it's like.
Yeah, because the parents, for them it's very difficult because they themselves think partly is it their fault when it's not their fault.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be genetics, it could be anything. It just could be just happened, But they always, as parents, they think, they want to
there's that
make
guilt
life
there.
easier for their kids.
Yeah.
Every parent wants that, and it's very difficult for parents because everyone judges, like in mosque, like when my mom, when I was younger, when she used to take me, everyone was judgmental of her, and that wasn't very nice for her either. So
I'm really glad you brought up that issue as well with integrating within the community as an individual with disability. How have you found that?
I've been very lucky because I had my grandma, and she was always in the mosque. She was a reciter, and she was a great lover of the Ahlulbayt. So I grew up with knowing like 4 or 5 languages because we went to mosque. So we knew Urdu, we knew Gujarati, we knew Kutch, and we knew, Swahili and different languages. And we heard majalis, and obviously we watched Hindi movies, so we learned Hindi as well. So, it was a very mixed upbringing, but, we always had that faith that bond us together.
Yeah.
So, it helped us a lot, to deal with to deal with a lot, like different illnesses, not just what I had, but So mum was very pious, and my grandma, like I said, so she made me understand, to ask rather than resent or blame. And so we went to majalises, so I didn't have a choice, but
this is in the UK.
No, this was back home.
Okay.
So it was very different. When we came here, my auntie was very forthcoming in because her kids were partially deaf.
Okay.
So she was very forthcoming in getting classes with speech therapy, with including all disabled people in madrasa.
Nice,
They had their first ziyarat trip, so all the disabled people, she took them on ziyarat. So she made them understand that this is part of...
This is the auntie that lives here?
She passed away as well. Yeah, so this was Zara by Kaku, and she was in Stanmore Mosque. So I go to different centres. I don't have per se a centre. So I've been very lucky, I go to Bustan Zara. They look after me there. They look after everyone, there. And I go to Stanmore. And I used to go to what's now the new Islamic Centre in North Harrow. They're trying to build it. It used to be Mehfil Ali. So in Ramadan we went there. In Muharram we went to Stanmore. So we do the rounds. So
these mosques that you've mentioned, they're all wheelchair accessible?
Yeah, so like they weren't always, but I'm quite loud. If I need something doing, I will speak up. I used to be very timid before, and I used to push everything in and not say anything, and it wasn't getting me. I was just becoming, quite resentful of everything. So Zerabai, she was very... she used to tell me, you have to bring disability to the forefront, whether it be religion or whatever. So she made me do a talk in Stanmore. And that gave me confidence. So, like, if I see something that I think, needs doing, I'll bring it up now. I won't just stay quiet. Like, for example, in Muharram, they had these tables for namaz, and they used to put them away after namaz. And I said, oh, do you mind if I have it for eating my dinner? Because, I can't keep the food on my lap. So they were a bit iffy about the space because it's, health and safety and that. So anyway, I had to talk, and I expressed, and, they made an exception and I could have the table, but... so you just have to ask, and you have to ask nicely. And if it is feasible, they will cater to your needs
Yeah.
as much as they can.
Yeah.
But, not everywhere is disabled friendly.
Yeah,
So it puts you, I can understand
Yeah.
why people get put off going to centres.
Yeah.
And I can understand people's attitudes are not very nice at the start of things.
Yeah.
But in these centres, they've been quite positive in asking disabled people to explain to able-bodied people. And once you start talking to disabled people, we have the same problems as you. We have the same issues as you. We stare as well, so it's not very nice to stare, just ask,
Yeah.
So it's nice because now I do a little talk for my sister's school, and it's nice to get to the generations when you're young so that they get used to having disabled people around them. So like my nieces and nephews, they've grown up with me around them, so they know now, they don't treat disabled people in any way different, as in, they'll be able to do, they can do things similar to what you can do, but we just have different ways of doing things. I'll give you another example. We went to SWT recently, so I had my sister, and I had my niece, and I had her daughter as well. So it was a really nice family trip, and we went to Karbala, and so the little ones, they wanted to come with me from the dining room they said, we'll come with you we'll go up in the lift with you, we want to go up, because they were bored, they were running around in the dining room, so I was like, all right, then, come on, then off we go. So we got in this lift, me and my little niece, my little great...
Yeah.
Yeah. So we got in this lift, and there was a blackout. Yeah, so I'm like, sugar, I shouldn't have brought this time with me. Why did I do this? And we were in the lift, and I was like, right, don't panic. Everything is going to be all right. So I'll give her a hug, and I said, he's going to come on in a minute. So the generator kicked in, and I said to her, you've got to press the button because I can't read. And she was a bit iffy because, they've been taught not to press buttons in the lift because they mess around with it. And I said, well, on this occasion, you're going to have to do it because I can't reach, mate. And I haven't brought my stick with me because I didn't know I was going to go in the lift alone with this little one. But she was so good. So I made her stand on my chair, and she pressed the button, and we got out. And we're like, oh, my God. And I said, see, you were so brave, So, and, you can sort your problems out by yourself. All you have to do is think and don't cry and don't panic and all this. And I was like, inside, I'm going crazy. I'm going, my mom's going to kill me. But, it's nice to be able to give them that motivation that you can problem solve when you're at a young age. If you do that, disabled people can't always reach something, but there is always a way out. You can do it, but you have to think differently. So it's really nice because I've done that with my nephews as well. Like when they were younger, if they were off sick, both my sister and my sister-in-law were working as school teachers. So if the nephews were ever sick, bring them to our house because Mum was there and I was there, and I think I wasn't working at the time. So it was nice to be able to give them that because we would sneak off for lunch. They were supposed to be ill, but I was like, I've got to do my shopping. So I used to train them on road safety, and we used to go to the shops and like reaching stuff, and then so they've always been around the disabled people, so they know like if they see another disabled people, it's all right to ask them if you need help, but don't stare and just be proactive and just ask them how they are or whatever, and just get them used to different types of people.
That's such an important point because the younger generation are the future, right? And we need to start from now, raising awareness and getting them used to the idea of disability and,
They need to know that not everyone's going to be looking the same as them or acting the same as them. And, they're still the same as you in what matters.
Yeah. So when it comes to attending mosques and centres, we know that there are both physical barriers, like, not being a disabled toilet or not being wheelchair accessible, but there are also social barriers. And social barriers are things like discrimination and stigma, which can sometimes be subtle, like you said, just staring. And that can make a lot of people, disabled individuals, not want to attend because of that. Or some, even parents that have, for example, autistic children, their children might get told off, things like that. And it comes to a lack of understanding and awareness. But, what has been for you? Have you faced social barriers, do you think, in attending mosques?
Back home, we had like the stigma.
Yeah.
But, I used to go to mosque when I was very young, so I got over that at an early stage. My mom had a lot of stigma with me.
Yeah.
That was back home in Kenya. But in this country, we've been so lucky. All the centers that I go to are disabled friendly, and they've really tried to. They ask you, what do disabled people need now? So there's disabled toilets now. There aren't any changing places, and I've not come across people with. I've not come across autistic children because I don't go to the baby room, obviously. But I think there's more awareness and understanding now, so it's not as bad as your perception of it is. Because I've never not gone to mosque, I've grown up. Half the time we were in mosque, you know what I mean? So it's like that's our identity, as Muslims. And it's a social and community thing as well. So like I said, I was very lucky with my auntie. She raised a lot of awareness in the Stanmore Centre. So they had classes with speech therapy, they had ziara trips, they had, and now they've recently done a survey for the news centre asking, what facilities do we need as disabled. So I put down, I want automatic doors. Because you go there, and I feel like every centre, not just a mosque, mandir, whatever, synagogue, it has to be accessible for people to access. For me, it's like drinking and, eating. Mosque has to be accessible for a mosque or a synagogue or mandir, wherever you place of religion should be open to everyone. It's already hard enough being disabled, and then you
not be able to access your place of worship.
If you put barriers, because most disabled people of other communities that I've known are atheists, so like obviously you've got the issue that I had, but they just, because of the stigma, they just say we don't believe. So we don't actually access different centers. But I've gone to churches, they've been accessible. I've gone to, I haven't actually gone to a mandir. I must do that. But
that is such an important point, that our centres and mosques need to be accessible.
They are, and most of them are. I find the ones in the city are, like Fatima was saying, the ones in the city are a bit less accessible. But then mostly the buildings in the city are so old that they haven't been made accessible. But all the centres that I've attended, they are accessible, and even the harams now are so accessible. They've got ramps everywhere. The zaria, there's a bit of a ledge, but they're accessible, which is so nice for me, because I can go on my own with my electric chair. Before, you were reliant. When we were younger, when we used to go to ziyarat, I had to be carried or I had to have a manual wheelchair. But now it feels so good that I'm doing it myself. I did my first Umrah myself with my electric chair. And it's so empowering. You feel like you're part of the community because you're doing your Umrah same time as everyone else is doing it. And you're doing it by yourself, It's that feeling of doing something for yourself.
Independence,
And, just being independent and being with him. Like, when you're being pushed, other people are controlling your actions, sort of thing. But everywhere now is so much more better. So I think, we should encourage people that the facilities are there. You just have to make this effort, and you have to be strong-willed and not take any notice of people. They're going to stare at someone, someone being sick or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
People, you know, it's human nature. Just get on with it. Just ask.
But what I noticed is that you are very strong-willed, and you took a very active role in asking, you know, and when you needed something, you ask. But a lot of people aren't like that, right?
Yeah, when
And
I was younger, I was quite...
I was going to say that your childhood experience, I think, really strengthened you, really shaped you.
But yeah, I mean, everyone's different, isn't it? Some people feel like they don't want to draw the attention to themselves by coming forward. Whereas I, because I've always had the attention, not in a good way, so now I'm trying to put it to a better use of making use of my voice, of, you know, sort of advocating for people to come forward, because, you know, I feel God is very important when, not just when you're a normal human being, but when you're a disabled person, I feel it's even more important to have that connection, because you can really get lost otherwise, you know. Most of my friends that I speak to, they really struggle with emotional problems and, you know, mental health problems, because they haven't got that connection with the community. They haven't got that purpose in life, you know. Our whole purpose as Muslims is to build that connection with them, and then the community and whatnot, you know. Everyone else should come secondary. But yeah, I've been lucky, you know, the centers, alhamdulillah, you know, they're understanding now the needs, and we've got lots of older generation now as well that are needing wheelchairs, that are using walking frames, so you know, you have to cater for everyone's needs.
What advice would you give to someone in a similar position to yourself with a disability that doesn't feel comfortable attending centres or mosques for whatever reason, whether it's physical barriers, they think that there might be physical barriers there, or social barriers?
Try it one day.
Just give it a go.
Yeah, just give it a go. Once you do it, you know, if you have a bad experience, discuss it with the people in charge, you know. Sometimes they're not even aware that there's these things going on. You know, so it's best to be upfront. I'll come with you if you want. I'll give you company. We can both stare. But no, it's just, you know, just forcing yourself to be out there. I know it's very, you feel very exposed.
Yes.
But once you do it, you will have such a lovely community, you know, that will support you when you need it. You know, I'm not saying everyone is great. You know, everyone has their faults. You know, I have my faults. Everyone has different faults. But, you know, if you talk it out, we're not going to change society by hiding away. That's how I feel about it. So we have to be at the forefront, and we have to educate the young ones early so that they don't grow up with this perception of disability. You can't do anything. You just have to sit there quietly. You know, you can do so much. You just do it differently. You know, I learned so much from all these different talks of all the different. I didn't even know there were so many disabled people out there, because I never see them. And I'm thinking I'm all on my own here. You know, what is going on? Where is everyone?
But that's going back to the point that we were saying, that there are many disabled individuals, but they're not coming to the mosque. They're not coming to the centres.
Yeah, I think because a lot of people have had so many bad experiences. But it's different in every society, isn't it? It's different in every community. Some communities are more aware and are trying to include. But in a way, you have to take a bit of individual responsibility as well, you know. You've got to face that bias outside it as well. So you might as well educate your community first, and the wider community can then educate everyone else, inshallah.
Inshallah. That's a lovely point to almost end off with, because we actually have 2 minutes left. We're running out of time. But I just want to end with the title that you chose for this podcast, which is In My Imperfection, He Created Perfection. So just final, you know, thoughts, ending thoughts about why you chose this title, and just to summarize.
Well, everyone looks at you and they think, you know, you know, everyone thinks there's something lacking, and but I feel, you know, He made me so amazingly, because if you have a look at my bones or my skeleton, there's nothing there. Yet I can stand up. So I'm thinking, wow. So how did he do that? So, so I just look at my own physical being, and I think, like your doctors or medical professions look at you and think, how, for a start. And I just find it so amazing, that I'm actually here till 50, it's a big blessing. And I, I shouldn't take it for granted, and I should try and do as much as I can. And so, don't be defined by your disability. Be remembered for your smile, for your strength, and for your steadfastness. And just be patient and just love everyone, not just your community, because that is how you spread awareness. If you don't communicate with people, they're not going to know you, so they're not going to understand you. So I would say, just be yourself, and be happy.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Well, thank you so much for the lovely conversation today. And I did learn so much, and I am very inspired by your positivity.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. My dad is so happy because this is one of his favorite channels, and I said I'll try and do you proud.
Shout out to your dad. So a lovely way to end the show. And any final thoughts before we wrap up?
No, like I said, just be yourself and try and be out there. You can make a difference. Just by being there, you can make a difference, because people will ask, and they will learn from you. So, it's all about growing at the end of the day,
Yeah. We're all on our own journeys, and we're all, on a journey to get close to God.
Something, none of us are perfect at the end of the day. We are made perfectly, but we all have flaws that we have to work on. So,
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for joining me, and thank you, viewers, for joining us. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.